Welcome back to my top 10s. Today's top 10 is called the top 10 strongest mobs in Minecraft. Here we go. Number 10, Elder Guardians. They are the strongest of all ocean-dwelling mobs in Minecraft. Though they are somewhat rare, they can be quite a formidable opponent when encountered. For one thing, being an underwater mob already puts the player at a disadvantage. The player can only spend a limited time without coming up for air, even with potions of water resist breathing. Elder Guardians also have the ability to shoot laser beams, which deal 6 hearts of damage on hard mode, and extend their spikes, which deal 1.5 hearts if the player is too close. The player also has to worry about mining fatigue, which an Elder Guardian will inflict on the player as they approach. Elder Guardians are very slow, however, and can easily be corralled into a disadvantageous position rather easily. Number 9, Enderman. The Enderman is a passive yet creepy mob that, when met with eye contact, will fly into a rage and attack. Despite their alien appearance, Endermen are a common sight in all 3 dimensions, especially their native one, the End. They can teleport at will using said ability to avoid projectile attacks, forcing players to fight them in close combat where they are at their most deadly. Endermen are very quick on their feet as well, and they quickly close the gap between them and the player in a tight space. Their attacks will deal 3 to 5 hearts of damage on normal and 5 to 25 on hard. Their only weaknesses are that they are harmed by water, and their large height means that they can be blocked off. 8. Evokers. Evokers are spell and casting illagers that can be extremely daunting to take on in combat due to their unpredictable pattern of attack. Evokers don't physically do damage to the player like some of their illager family do. Instead, they cast spells that launch towards the player, those spells being impossible to dodge or escape in many cases. These spell-casting illagers can deal 6 hearts of damage regardless of the player's game difficulty, and have 3 different spells that they can use to attack with. The only indication of which attack the hostile illager is going to use from the colour of particles that appear around its hands when it begins to cast a spell. Evokers can attack from long ranges, sending lines of fangs erupting from the ground towards where the player stands and summoning vexes to swarm the player. They can also perform a combination of those 2 attacks, as well as a harmless spell that can change the wool colour of nearby sheep. 7. Piglin Brute. Piglin Brutes are the bane of existence for any player that dares to explore the remnants in Minecraft's fiery nether. Unlike the regular piglins, which are normally neutral towards the player, these hostile mobs will attack the player on sight, regardless of whether they're wearing gold armor or not. Piglin Brutes won't retreat once they've spotted the player, can't be bartered with, and cannot be distracted by dropping gold. They're one of Minecraft's strongest and most hard to deal with mobs, so players should keep an eye out for them at all times while exploring Bastion remnants, and always have an escape plan in mind. 6. Shulker. The Shulker is not a typical enemy in Minecraft. It's not dangerous because of any direct attack damage, which only does 2 hearts of damage. However, its levitation status effect is the real killer. When a Shulker hits a player, it will cause that player to start levitating for 10 seconds, after which they will immediately fall. Depending on the height, this can be fatal. The projectile that the Shulker fires will also attract the player, so it is very easy for them to be hit. The best ways to deal with this are for the player to make sure that they have boots enchanted with feather falling, as well as a shield to block the projectile. Number 5. Ravagers. During village raids, Players will come face to face with Ravagers starting at Wave 3. Ravagers are very powerful, dealing as much as 9 hearts of damage with just their bite alone. In addition to the player, Ravagers will attack various friendly mobs like villagers, wandering traders, and iron golems. The player can blunt their attack with a shield, but this will cause the Ravager to use its roar, which will launch at any nearby mobs and deal 3 hearts of damage to all non-pillagers. They will, as well as potential fall damage. In addition to lone Ravagers, players will also have to deal with Ravagers ridden by pillagers, vindicators, and evokers. Number 4. The Wither. The Wither was introduced as a mini-boss in Minecraft during the Minecraft 1.4.2 Pretty Scary update. Aside from the significance that this creature has in the lore behind the sandbox game, they're incredibly difficult to defeat in the combat for the elusive Nether Star. After it spawns, the mini-boss will explode and leave a hefty crater in its place before flying around and beginning to shoot with the skulls at the player and any living mob nearby. The skulls that the mini-boss shoots can deal up to 6 hearts of damage, plus its own withering effect on hard mode. When it's finally down to half health, the mini-boss will be given an added layer of armor to protect itself. This shield can be extremely annoying for players to break through, but with enough willpower and nearby mobs to distract the mini-boss from attacking the player, it is possible to defeat the Wither. Number 3. Ender Dragon. The Ender Dragon is infamously the final boss in Minecraft. It's been the biggest standing mob between the player and truly beating the main objective of the game since the very beginning. Over the years and updates, her strength hasn't wavered too much, but she has gotten more clever and difficult for players to overcome and defeat. The Ender Dragon attacks the player with a wide range of lethal attacks that can deal up to 7 hearts of damage on hard mode. These include spraying her dragon's breath, shooting fireballs, throwing the player into the air, and even ramming into them. However, it isn't just managing to hit the dragon while she's circling around in the air that's a challenge. Players must also blow up each of the end crystals that regenerate the health of the Ender Dragon. We've finally come to the top 2. Number 2. Charged Creeper. Charged Creeper is an extremely rare naturally occurring enemy type in Minecraft. In theory, one could be created at any point during a thunderstorm. All that's required is for lightning to strike within 4 blocks of any ordinary creeper. This will electrically charge it, giving it a distinctive blue aura and a much more powerful explosion. The blast itself is twice as large as a normal creeper's, and it does roughly double the damage. Whereas a normal creeper will inflict 32 hearts of damage on an unarmored player on hard mode, a charged creeper will deal a whopping 64 hearts of damage. This makes it the highest damaging mob in the game, though thankfully it isn't tougher to defeat the average creeper. And number 1, the Warden. The Warden is undoubtedly one of the most horrifying additions to the game since the Pretty Scary update, which also introduced the Wither. This entirely blind mob is summoned by the Skulk Shriekers in the Deep Dark and uses echolocation to find players as they fumble around in the blinding darkness trying to escape the Warden. This hostile mob isn't considered a mini-boss, because it wasn't designed to be fought at all, but rather for players to stealthily sneak around and escape without using their combat skills. That said, if this blind beast spots the player, it might as well be game over for them. The Warden can harm that player with instantly lethal ranged and melee attacks, making this one mob that players never want to encounter while they're out spelunking the caves. Time for our facts.